You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we are going to be previewing the group stage of the 2022 T20 Cricket World Cup. I said that perfectly, almost like I had no practice whatsoever, or like I've been practicing all day. I'm not really sure. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How you doing, Ross?
Yeah, marvellous. Thank you, mate. Very much excited to preview Namibia and the other entrees that we have. And also the big debate that has been going on in the background of Twitter for us at the moment.
Yeah, how can we forget? Actually, when we put this video out, it's probably going to be the main debate, the England v Australia, should Buttler have claimed the wicket, did Wade cheat debate. But I didn't lead with that. I led with the preview. It's going to make no sense if you're on YouTube. Max, are you looking forward to trying to cut this together to make it make sense for people?
I'm already lost, so you'll get what you get, basically.
Should we start at the top and explain what we're actually going to talk about?
Let's do that.
Right. In part one, we will talk about England v Australia and mainly Josh Buttler. And Josh Buttler, I. Also, Matthew Wade. I don't know why I'm saying it like it's laid out like a legal document. That's what we're going to be doing. And then we'll get to the T20 World Cup preview. We've got bits prepared on all of the teams, including, and I'm really looking forward to this, which famous person from the country best represents the team. That's
you got some good picks.
That's going to be, I've got some amazing picks. We've got some A-list content coming up there.
Nice.
And we've got about 1,000 questions. So this could actually be about 19 videos on YouTube.
It's not going to be 19 videos. I can assure you of that.
What we're going to talk about first, though, is Patreon. We've mixed up what we're doing on Patreon to make it good or better.
Well,
it's going to be better. We have stumbled upon a new format for the show, which is basically us reviewing old cricket clips and chatting shit about stuff that we have seen on the internet, mainly Robolinda things. We recorded our first of this new format on Friday, featuring Shahid Afridi, 103 v India, and the worst over ever bowl. That's a bit of a tongue twister. That one. It was a lot of fun. You can get in on the action from just £4, but if you go to a higher Patreon tier, you got the opportunity to join us for one of those discussions and be part of the conversation. It's good. There's a bunch of other stuff there too. Check it out in the show notes as well as some other messages that you need to hear. Right, fellas, what happened in the cricket yesterday morning? Who wants to talk us through the game? Max, that's what your job is.
Usually, yeah. England were off to play their warm-up game against Australia in Australia, and all the questions were who's going to open the batting for England. The answer was Alex Hales, and he did very well. He and Josh Buttler smashed the ball around a bit, and England made 208, which was a pretty solid start for that warm-up. It was Cameron Green in the squad now for Australia? Or is he still just sort of on the fringes and playing?
He isn't in the squad, and
No.
I don't know. We might have passed the deadline by which he can be entered into the squad. So
Yeah.
it's clear as mud.
So he was.
It's like a Steve Smith injury to get him into the side.
So he was playing. For some reason, Mitchell Swepson was also playing. So Australia obviously weren't taking it particularly seriously. Just going to leave that one hanging there with their selection. But anyway, England clocked up 208, but Australia made a pretty good fist of it. David Warner back to his old belligerent best at the top of the order, and ably supported by the guys following, Marcus Stoinis with a lusty 35, and they were in touching distance. And then everyone forgot about what actually was happening with the game and the concept, because there was a thing where someone maybe got in someone's way, or maybe didn't get in someone's way, and someone maybe could have appealed but didn't appeal, and someone maybe could have been out but wasn't out, and in the end, England still won. And then Twitter went mental.
Yeah, it did go mental. Should we talk about the main cricket things, I think, first? Well, let's get this out of the way. Australia, as you said, Max, quite obviously didn't care about this. Shout out to, his name's gone. We've talked about him loads on this podcast, the bowler. He's good. He played for Nathan Ellis. I wanted to say Harvey Elliott. I don't know. Is that a
he's
Liverpool
a
centre
Liverpool
fielder.
footballer, yeah.
Nathan Ellis? He was really good. Otherwise, I don't think Australia really learned anything. I'm not sure they cared. There was a good moment where a man in the crowd caught the ball and then dropped his chips, possibly on the person in front of him. It wasn't really clear. England, though, two interesting things for us. Hale's opening the batting. Is that the right call? And Ben Stokes batting at 4. Is that the right call?
Yeah, so I think with Alex Hales opening up, his record in Australia, regardless if it's in the Farmers League in the Big Bash, is so in his favour that it would have been pretty mad if they rocked up to Australia and not picked him. It was a big kind of out on a limb decision from Rob Key and the other selectors to make that call. They almost had to pick him, regardless of how well Phil Salt did. But he's a great reserve at this point in time. Ben Stokes, it was clear, had not played a lot of cricket, looked rusty, and kind of made things a little bit awkward, I think, for England. Like David Milan dropped down the order, and it was just all, didn't quite feel like England's optimal lineup. But it's early days when we've only got like a week left to the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have sent Stokes in a World Cup match. I think they just wanted him to have a little bat.
Yeah, that's the way I saw it. They're not really too worried around David Milan. He's just come off a decent enough series. He's got a great record on Australia, and he's one of the best T20 number 3s in the world. So not too much to test out there, but getting miles in the legs of Ben Stokes much more important.
Well, let's talk about the actual good thing that happened.
Michael Swepson playing. Mitchell Swepson playing, sorry?
Michael Swepson.
Forget
Might as well be Michael Swepson. Michael Swepson's probably better. Office clerk, Michael Swepson. Fucking hell. Like he bowled, that was an awful spell of bowling. He bowled 2 half volleys that went into the crowd, and they corrected that just by bowling 10 consecutive balls into his feet. So what is the why are you here? Was my thought. It was quite funny watching him get dispatched, but
everyone's been there.
Yeah, they have. So, Josh Buttler, Wade, let's set the scene. Wade skies the ball way up in the air off the bowling of Mark Wood, who was bowling really, really quickly. He gets a little bit disoriented. Stoinis said it flicked off his helmet. I couldn't really see that, but apparently it did.
Yeah,
and it went up. And Wood went to catch it, and Wade gets in the way, clearly obstructs him. The ball bounces. Josh Buttler is asked. Josh Buttler was watching the ball, and he says this afterwards. He said because he was the wicketkeeper going to catch it. He says, he said I didn't really see it. I was asked if I wanted to appeal. He said it was hard because I didn't know what I was appealing for. I could have asked some of the other boys to see if they had a better view, but I thought I'd get on with the game. Maybe I should have asked a few of the lads, which is like a textbook. I don't care whether we win or not. He doesn't appeal. They get on with the game. England win. Why is this a big deal? I don't understand.
It isn't. It isn't a big deal.
Okay.
Like you said,
it is a big deal. Though,
it was
Max.
clear.
Like
it was
saying.
clearly obstruction. So if Buttler had appealed, it would have been given out. I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with that sentiment. Even the most raving Australian could probably admit that Matthew Wade clearly deliberately got in his way. That's not the question. The question apparently is, I don't know, by not appealing, England have committed some sort of heinous act of not taking the game seriously or something. I mean, it's just like, just Buttler said himself, he didn't really see it. So like, we've all had the benefit of watching it back 50 times in slow motion, and we can clearly see Matthew Wade take a look at Mark Wood and go, oh, no, I'm just going to stop you there from getting the ball. So we can all see it was obviously obstruction and that there's not really any grey area. But if you're Josh Buttler, you're like, I kind of saw it. I'm not really sure if it's out. Is it worth like making a big deal out of it now? Probably not. I think like there's nothing wrong with taking that view. Like it's just there's nothing to it. There's nothing to it more than that. Like
Ross, was Buttler wrong not appealing?
Well, if you consider what's happened in the past with, I don't know, like match fixing cases where certain people have gone into games premeditating, take some funds in, I think that Josh Buttler should be considered for a jail sentence, is what I'm thinking. It's the only way that it's ultimately...
How long roughly?
It's going to have to be between 15 and 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
But it's bringing the game ultimately into disrepute. He has soiled the spirit of cricket. And by not treating this game as a World Cup final, he has ultimately ruined cricket for every single fan who paid money to be in that stadium.
Rumour has it there's a massive spot fixing operation going on as well around there being a wicket not given for obstructing the field.
That particular ball of the match. Wade planned to hit the ball into his head, and then it was going to be like to create a little bit of doubt. And then there'd be all sorts. And I see that's the sort of thing I didn't really get here. Now, when Wade gets in the way and England don't take the wicket because it's a friendly, and like, you know, you can contest whether it's a friendly or not, but Australia didn't pick a proper team. You know, they literally picked a bunch of guys that aren't going to the World Cup. I mean, how much more of a signal do they need to send that they don't think this is important? It was a practice match. There's some interesting stuff there. It was entertaining. It gave both teams practice, and there are certain players that maybe advanced their case for inclusion in match day 11s at the World Cup, or potentially as first reserve. You know, say Cummins gets injured tomorrow, who's coming? Who's in? It's Harvey Elliott, isn't he? But no, like, so there's all of that. What? Yeah, when Wade doesn't get given out and etc., you do expect that there'll be a certain amount of animosity from the old guard and the Barmy Army and stuff. And the Barmy Army did the whole, same old Aussies always cheating. Yeah. Which is like, you know, that's 90% of being in the Barmy Army.
And some people on Twitter brought up Virat Kohli.
Yeah, it's about having a pop at the Aussies. Like, that's why you go and wave your flag. So they do that. You're supposed to ignore them because, like, obviously they don't even take themselves seriously.
Yeah, they've had 12 pints by lunchtime, and they're sitting there going, "Oh yeah, this is obviously what needs to happen."
And then on the flip side of that, you do expect a little bit of criticism. And I probably put myself somewhere in this camp from people who said Buttler should have appealed because it was out. Like that, what Wade did is something that means you should be out.
Oh yeah, it was unequivocally out. But I think, like, we're looking at, again, like I said, we're looking at this from the benefit of having seen it so many times. It's clearly obvious. Yeah. And Josh Buttler didn't have that.
No, but he was told by the umpires to review it, and there are.
Yeah, I suppose if the umpire's saying, "Do you want to appeal?" There's probably a bit of a clue there, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's there's other players that probably could have told him to do it, and he said himself he would have appealed at a World Cup. But then we go back to the point we just made. This game doesn't matter. The outcome of this game doesn't matter. There are narratives in it that do, but the actual outcome, who wins, loses, doesn't matter. Neither of these teams need the ranking points to get into the next World Cup. It's completely irrelevant.
On balance, maybe he probably should have appealed, but I don't think it's a big deal. What if he'd said, as I feared, but wasn't in fact the case, he would come out afterwards and say something, "I didn't want to appeal because of the spirit of cricket and I didn't want to wicket like that." Then I'd have lost my fucking shit, because that's total bollocks.
But this is the thing that I didn't expect, and the thing that Ross alludes to, the jail sentence, is that both those groups, like the Matt Wade cheated group and it's the rules he should have been out group, have been outflanked by this other group. Like, just, you know, it's something like Hannibal at the Battle of Kenai. It's a double envelopment from people who seem to be claiming that it is against the spirit of cricket and it is somehow an offence to the laws of the game. Like, they're more spirit of cricket than the Barmy Army saying it was cheating, and they're more laws of the game than people like us who
they're more spirit of cricket than people who are going on about the run out the other week.
Yeah, but it's completely, and this is what I think. You know, I mean, it's one of the best cricket arguments I think I've ever seen. Like, it's pure cricket nonsense, isn't it? Where is it coming from? Like, why is this happening? I've got like a bunch more notes to this, but I've been doing a run. Ross, why are these people, you know, launching this double envelopment of us and the Barmy Army? Why have we been lumped in together accidentally with the Barmy Army here? And is there an angle that I'm not seeing?
I think sometimes people deliberately want to take a certain position when it comes to an argument. Like you've seen it across loads of popular TV shows and a load of popular figures, that if you take a certain position that is kind of against the grain or deliberately niche to kind of ruffle some feathers, you're going to get some more attraction, you'll get some more interaction, you'll get some weird people following you, and that is ultimately the aim of the game. And here, the bit that I've seen is that the people really saying that this is completely horrendous are going for that. They're going for the Donald Trump approach to following cricket, and yes, it's baffling to me. Baffling.
So the ringleader of this, we might as well name names, is Cricket View on Twitter. And
We should have invited him on. We should have invited him on, because I would love to see a debate between you and them.
Well, it wouldn't be a debate, would it? No, I like
no,
it. Right?
It would have been
so
two very stubborn, obstinate people saying the same thing over and over again.
One who's right, me.
For once.
I wouldn't say that. I don't, when I argue, say the same thing over and over again. What I do is I look for personal weakness.
That's true.
That.
Yeah, you are very...
the eyes, go for the gouge.
You're very good at ad hominem and straw man. That is true.
Thank you, Max. I'm gonna pocket that compliment and ask no further questions. And I don't want this to get too navel gazing, but it was weird, and I do think that there are some people that probably need to look at what we're talking about and the game we all enjoy in the perspective with which it should properly be enjoyed. Like, cricket is not the human court. The European Court of Human Rights. It is not an environment which necessitates a black and white.
But they are called the laws of the game, are they not?
Answer. Well, I mean, this is what they are called, but the the actual part of the laws of the game, which seems to be jazzing up people so much, is the preamble, the bit that talks about the spirit and uses words like fair and respect, words which are by their very definition subjective. Now, if we take fair, for example, Max, is it fair? No. What I mean, fair, for example, we will each have a definition of what fair is, and we can apply it to this podcast.
Yep.
Is it fair on Ross and I that during one of the busiest periods in the cricketing calendar, you're going to Las Vegas and we have to maintain the podcast, put out 3 shows a week, book all the guests, and then split the meager proceeds with you? Is that fair? Now, if we ask you, your answer is probably yes. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, well, I'm not the only one who's ever been on holiday while cricket's happened, so I think
if we ask Ross, is it fair? You've just moved house. Like, do you want the hassle of 3 shows a week?
I don't want the hassle of 3 shows a week, but I'll do it for Max. We're a team.
Yeah, okay. And I think it's just completely unfair. Yeah, there we have three different ideas of what is fair in a given situation. And you can have that here, can't you? I mean, it's completely fair enough for Buttler to say he didn't want to claim the wicket because he thought it was an unjust advantage, and that is not how he wants to win the cricket match, whoever that is. Now, there's some context to that. As he himself said, in a World Cup match, i.e. a more important match, because it would be, he would have a different concept of what is fair in that moment. But in like what is effectively a glorified friendly, perhaps it was fairer on the people watching in the stands, the millions of people watching at home, that Wade got to continue batting, and the contest was consequently more interesting. Perhaps it was fairer on his bowler, Sam Curran and Mark Wood, that they got the opportunity to prove themselves at the death, potentially get themselves selected for the World Cup. Perhaps it was fairer on Matt Wade that he isn't punished for a moment of madness. And that
I think he should go to prison too. Yeah. I think he not just Buttler should be in the same cell.
My version of fairness would be like, well, you should punish the person who had the moment of madness. That is sport. Like he made a mistake.
It's like a red card offence in football, isn't it? Yeah, he flailed an arm out stupidly. Caught him. If you
actually want to talk about laws, Law 31 is about appeals. There is nothing in that law which says you have to appeal every time you think someone's out. In my mind, and like you two can correct me if you think I'm
just
wrong.
Like you
here.
don't have to walk.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
should,
I,
but-
I think it was a mistake by Buttler, probably no more egregious than a bad matchup. Like it's
yeah.
as the captain, sometimes you have to take responsibility and do things that maybe make you look a little bit unpopular when you're away from home in the name of winning. And I think that's what he should have done. He decided not to do it for a bunch of other reasons. There is
Yeah.
no problem with that. I rest my case.
Yeah.
England also won. Like,
yeah.
that is also the
This
bit
is something that hasn't even been brought up in this entire argument on Twitter. Like the thing about England, didn't even try to win. It's a disgrace. They won.
Yeah.
Of course, they won.
Look, to be fair,
208.
look, to be fair to Cricketing View, because this isn't just a show that kind of looks down on people or anything like that. Like we want more and more like different opinions, right? On cricket. That's what makes cricket makes entertaining, right? And that is the bit that builds one, content for us to talk about, and two, gets more interactions on Twitter, just like I said. And I think
that's why we're in the game.
Yeah,
more interactions on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what
like
gives
and subscribe.
Yeah. So this isn't a dig at a personal level. It's just sometimes if you have a silly opinion, we're going to go after it. So I think that sums it up really nicely, Jack.
Yeah. And you're all welcome to come at us for silly opinions.
Yeah, look. There's a reason we follow him on the Twitter, and that's because there are interesting opinions that come from that account. This one was interesting.
For its own reasons.
Yeah, for its own reasons. Anything else? I don't think we need to talk about this cricket match really much. There's two more. You looking forward to them?
Not really, no.
Did you know England only won one match down under against Australia until till Sunday?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. No, I didn't. So
there we are.
No,
that's a good way to end part one.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
When we come back, if this is a YouTube, it'll be a different video. We should just say, we'll actually say, for the World Cup, our plan is to release a preview video tomorrow, which will be the 11th, and then to do shows Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. Wednesday and Friday, probably about lunchtime, hopefully live on YouTube, if that's your bag. Sunday, not 100% sure about that. Maybe live, maybe not. For the World Cup, and it's going to be really good fun. Max, as we said, is off to Las Vegas, but we've got some other good guests lined up. We'll have a bit of Western action. Cameron's going to be on the ground.
Back for the business end, baby.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Do you have a question, Max?
Yes.
Are you shaving your balls before you go to Las Vegas?
That's a good question. I might have a trim, yeah, but I mean, I'm not planning to get my balls out, so it'll be a comfort thing more than anything.
What product would you use, Max?
Well, I've got I could use some Veet cream. That's an option.
Oh, what the fucking hell are you doing?
But obviously, the best thing to do, Ross, would be to use Manscaped, the lawnmower 4.0. In fact, very good, particularly good for that job, and much better than hair removal cream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't put that on your testicles.
No.
Yeah, did someone not send him the ad copy or something?
No, what
the fucking hell's going on there?
I couldn't have teed him up more perfectly. But
yeah,
there we go.
I thought I'd missed the first one.
Anyway, let's move on. That is the end of part one. Join us for part two.
That's the most bungled ad I've ever heard in my life. Cricket Pod, 20% off at manscaped.com.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.